I'm just now listening to the radio, NPR, and they're doing their job. They're covering a story like so many other different companies, television and radio are also covering a story, talking about Common Core. And I'm 28, I'll be 29 in May 2015. But I just do not understand how I understand part of the debate as far as parents feeling that kids are being taught to the test opposed to tests, analyzing, but still incorporating, what needs to be taught essentially, opposed to just simply assessing everything. But, at the end of the day, this whole protest opting out nonsense, and I call it nonsense because what I heard over the broadcast was parents saying they wanted to give their kid the choice and their kids felt the test was too hard. Here's the thing. How many kids do you know will be excited about taking a test? Any test. I mean, with the exception of the academically superior, the upper top percent of the class, I don't think any kid that's in grade school, elementary, primary, middle school, or high school, I don't think any of them are really going to be excited in a good way about taking tests unless that's just the mentality. That's always been the general social contract. That's how people have always felt. I mean, no one feels excited about taking a spelling test or an English test or a history test. That's not normal. So to somehow assume that grade school children should now be offered that decision, let's be honest, how competent are they to make decisions that parents, quite honestly, should be making? And here's the thing. Parents, if you're not okay with this, show up at the PTA. Become a board member. Move your kids to a different school. Send them to private school. There are tools available, but now that you've missed the deadlines, now that you are outvoted, you feel that your only alternative is to offer your child a decision to challenge the administration officials and teaching officials, the only authority figures other than yourself and religious members of your community are the only authority figures they know, and you want to offer them in their stage of almost pre-adolescence the choice to defy that. How do you think that's going to manifest itself when they get on the job? Do you think the employer is going to say, if you don't feel like taking this exam to assess your abilities to do the job, well, since we didn't do this test last year and it's a new thing company-wide, you can just opt out of it if you want to. No, in the real world, you won't be paid. You will be fired. In college, if they want to opt out of an exam that determines any number of things, from how much financial aid they'll get, or if they'll receive a scholarship, or if they pass an entrance exam to enter certain classes for certain fields of study, they don't have that option of opting out. So to somehow assume that the high-end, here's the thing. Be more involved in the curriculum itself. I agree. Simply giving kids tests upon tests just for the sake of whatever isn't a good thing. But here's the problem. Nationwide, we do have to have a common standard, which is why it's called Common Core. If you teach kids in Philadelphia one thing on a general level of competency, and then in Texas teach them a complete opposite, that's when you're facilitating long-term disproportionate education on such a basic level. We can agree everyone needs to learn how to add. We can agree everyone needs to learn how to write their name. Basic things. But at the same time, the stupid people that design these tests, some of the problems, I don't think they, with their college degrees and years of experience designing tests, could pass on their best day. So I think that the communities should have much more involvement directly in the development of these tests before they are implemented. But at the same time, if you individuals sit out there and miss these deadlines, miss the notifications, and just be blindsided when they occur, you do not have the right to remove your kid from taking from taking a test just simply because you disagree with it. If you really want to be the parent that they deserve, quite honestly, when it comes to making decisions that are in their best interest, it will not adversely affect them beyond just simply taking a test. And again, the overall problem is the general direction of the curriculum, not necessarily the amount of tests they take or the severity of the test when they take it, or even the anxiety that they feel when they feel approaching impending apocalypse of a statewide exam. My tirade boils down to this. If you're really that upset about it, be involved on every level, but to use your kids as an act of protest is irresponsible. That's all I have to say. And I remember, I'm only 10 years removed from school. Our 10-year reunion is coming up. I wasn't the best academic scholar, but there was something we called the Maryland State Assessment Test. I remember it. It goes far back as, my God, 3rd grade. It wasn't fun. I don't think I was one of the ones that did the absolute best, but I graduated. Life went on. But the hell if my mother was making a protest about it, I don't even know what her feelings were on it. And you know what? That's how it should be. You should not make your kids a part of your politics when it comes to decisions dealing with the school. It really is inappropriate on so many different levels. Yeah, a kid can opt out of a test. Maybe they can opt out of a class when it deals to teaching sexual education, because that does cross an ethical and moral line between parent and government and things like that. But when it comes to, can you read, write, add this, subtract that, understand what you've read, do you understand it? These are not political things. They are not trying to fundamentally redefine the role of an educator, as individuals love to phrase an argument. It's not an attack on your rights as parents. I am just so sick of people who would rather abdicate their responsibility and overcompensate for that irresponsibility or that ignorance of policy by using their kids as tools. And by the way, if you feel personally offended and as though I am personally attacking you, here's the thing. You only feel upset because something that no one in your group will tell you to your face. They will not tell you you should have showed up to that meeting. And at the same time, here's the other half of this. Let's say you are that person that went through the trenches and you fought for it. Well, guess what? If your kids still have to take this test because the school's administering it, it means you lost. It means you did not have the political credibility. It means that you did not have the numbers. It means that you did not have the necessary influence. And here's the lesson for you to teach your kids. You may not like how things turn out, but at the end of the day, you can accept that it is the result of a system that you agreed to participate in. Does this sound familiar? Because this is the same logic that governs democracy and elections. Your side lost. You have some time to mull it over, figure out what you did wrong, and then you try again. With schools, you have this every year. Every single year. At least the election cycles are every 2 years, 4 years, and in some cases 6 years. So if you lost because you were either unaware of what was happening, chose to be not informed, chose not to be involved, or simply did not have enough votes to outvote the powers that be, accept defeat and grace and build for the next battle. But don't be sore losers, and don't teach your kids to be sore losers. Because you're not just playing with their sense of wrong and right. You're playing with the kind of person that they will grow up to be. And if you think what you're teaching them is a greater lesson, I'm sorry, but tests are supposed to be hard. Schools are supposed to be the place where they encounter those tests. And sometimes the tests are not the best tests. But that's why schools end at summer. That's why there are PTAs. That's why there are teachers and unions and workshops. That's why there are so many mechanisms to allow you to be heard and to even participate in administration and in governance of the policies that are later reflected through these tests. And at the end of the day, you need to understand as well, we do need to teach our kids to a common standard. And if your school needs to be assessed, it needs to be assessed. And if your school is underperforming the average that is achieved, that is the intended benchmark of achievement, then some form of corrective action is going to have to take place to move us forward. To complain that it's hard and to complain that we shouldn't try to find out where we are, these are the tools of ignorance. And sometimes we need to confront the inconvenient truth with the formidable reality that it needs to be done, and to not shy away from that challenge. That's the future these kids are headed for. If you wonder why adults seem sometimes less motivated than they should be, if you wonder why people in my age bracket, the mid-20-somethings and the teenage turning into 20-somethings, aren't as motivated, aren't as educated, do not have the strongest moral compass, it's because sometimes parents too easily give up where they should stand firm. Stand firm on aspects of morality, but more so, standing firm with accepting of the inability to defeat a superior foe. I'm not saying give in to the state and let the state dictate everything, but sometimes when you play all day, or don't, sometimes you're just outmatched. And if you think you should stand like the Alamo, well, maybe you need to read the real lessons behind it. Sometimes making the last grand stand sounds romantically heroic. But if you're looking to no longer go past that battle, then it's fine, because everyone dies. But if you want to go past that battle and build a new future and take a role in it, leading it, then you need to see past the battle into the next one. Ask yourselves, if you don't have them do this, what then is the alternative? Have you formulated an alternative? Have you taken an active approach in presenting that? Has it been rejected? The glorious fight of protest sounds nice, but you need to be wrapped up in the reality of the consequences afterwards. Think about it. And at the same time, teachers need to be just as proactive. No school official can ignore parents and teachers. Think about it.